This is TWiT.
Okay. Well, I think at sometime in the past, we talked about how physical media for video games was disappearing from stores like Best Buy. Microsoft, part of their layoffs recently was getting rid of the team that actually is responsible for the physical media stuff. It's happening in Europe now. There was a report European retailers are getting rid of this as well. Nintendo earnings are later in the show here a little bit, but as part of that earnings, one of the little figures or facts they pulled out of their earnings report was the percentage of people buying software digitally versus in physical format. It's over 50% digital now. So even on a system like that, where, it's not the future, it's the present, right? So no big surprise.
Well, and if it's happened to Nintendo, everybody else was ahead of them. Nintendo moves slowly on this sort of thing.
And their audience doesn't care. I mean, they're kind of the Apple of the video game space, I think, in some ways. It's kind of a contorted comparison, but just live with it. The big controversy of the past week was actually with Xbox. There's been a lot of rumors of Microsoft bringing first-party games, meaning Microsoft Studio games, and that would include today, Bethesda, Activision, Blizzard, et cetera, to rival platforms.
Isn't there an event this week? Isn't Spencer?
So what happened was there was one too many rumors, and Brad and I had this conversation. We're like, look, these guys have got to come clean. And like 10 seconds later, Phil Spencer got on Twitter/X and said, guys, we have a strategy. We have an announcement. We've been planning it for a while. It will be next week, right? And there's been some criticism of that because at that point it's like, well, why don't you just tell us now? But my sources are telling me that this event was actually planned for the end of February. This has been planned for a while, and they're actually moving it up because of all the
and
rumors.
They're probably needing to get some signatures. Like that noise also helped them push some contracts through.
Yeah, I think what had happened was, the way these rumors happen is that Microsoft can keep a secret sometimes, but once you start expanding the group of people who know what you're doing, because you're talking to partners, news gets out, and suddenly it's like Halo's coming to PS5 or the new Indiana Jones game or Starfield or whatever the thing might be.
Yeah, the noise begins. But now you get the lagger. So now you move up the event date, and then you also go to the guys who are dragging their feet. It's like you're going to miss it. If you don't sign, it almost doesn't matter. Like it becomes beneficial for Microsoft too.
So two things to this. One is when I think about what Microsoft could or could not be doing or could or could not be talking about, I don't care about this in the slightest. Yeah. As an Xbox gamer, this does not impact me at all, except in a positive way, which I'm going to get to.
Ask me how the PC master race feels.
Okay. What I care about is you spent $69 billion on Activision. What are you doing with it? Come on. It's February. So I actually think this event was mostly about that. And my guess was, I'm just guessing, I'm projecting here, but my guess is they were going to pull up and one more thing at the end of it and say, and one more thing, we're bringing Starfield to PS5. Good night, everybody. And, it was going to be one of those little things. So now everyone's all in a bundle over this. But here's the deal. And it bothers me that there are still people in the world who don't get this. Xbox is not the same as it used to be. Richard alluded to this earlier. The old Xbox, the one that was about a console that lost money all the time, that business could not exist. They, under Phil Spencer, have expanded this thing to include a wide range of products and services across platform, want to do that Microsoft thing, meet gamers where they are. And a lot of gamers are on rival platforms. Microsoft has never and will never make money on a console. Microsoft would be better off not making consoles. If it bothers you that Xbox games are going to be on PlayStation 5 or whatever, you're not paying attention. This is how this thing thrives, not just survives, but thrives. You just as like an individual gamer, for example, I Call of Duty guy for a long time. Two of the big things that happened in that life cycle were that for the first most years, I would go online and play against people on Xbox. That's all I could play with. But at some point, they expanded that audience so we could do cross-play with, and then I could play against people who are on PlayStation. And that meant the number of people I could play against was 3 times as big all of a sudden. And then a couple of years ago, they added PCs too. Now, of course, with PCs, you have to make sure they're using a controller. Wouldn't be fair if they were using a keyboard and a mouse. But the point is that benefited even like this notion that bringing a game to another platform, which is sort of this, is somehow going to make things worse for you as an Xbox fan is ridiculous. This is expanding the ecosystem you love. This is like saying, I loved REM until they became successful. It's very, I know we do this. It's human. It's very common. But the truth is, if you love Xbox, this is how it succeeds. Period.
Yeah.
Xbox is not a console. It was never successful as a console. It is becoming successful as a much bigger ecosystem that targets gamers wherever they are. Cloud services are cool. Streaming is fine. But honestly, bringing those things directly to the console natively is, or PC or whatever the platform, Nintendo, whatever.
No, it's create the umbrella and ultimately own the relationship with the customer. That's really
that's what it is.
Hey, it's me, Leo Laporte. I hope you've enjoyed this little snippet from Windows Weekly. If you want to see more and want to catch the whole show, you can subscribe in your favorite podcast client or visit our website, twit.tv/WW. And of course, there's links right below me.